Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Wednesday, October 28th, 2020. Today I'm going to recap the World Series game number 6 and get into everything that unfolded last night. My second NBA mock draft of the year, some NFL news, Dancing with the Stars, and Masked Singer. All right, the World Series. Your champions are the Los Angeles Dodgers, who get it done in 6 games. And last night, with the final score of 3-1 over the Tampa Bay Rays, the baseball season's over. The Dodgers are world champions. They get it done in 6 games. Vince Gonzalez got the win. Nick Anderson the loss. Julio Urias the save. Top of the first, home run, Randy Arozarena, 1-0 Rays. Everybody's thinking, hey, there's going to be a Game 7. And then Kevin Cash takes Blake Snell out of the game after giving up a hit in the bottom of the 6th, which was a dumb move. Came back to backfire. Austin Barnes scores on a wild pitch by Nick Anderson to tie it up at 1. Then fielder's choice by Corey Seager to make it 2-1. And in the bottom of the 8th, a home run by Mookie Betts. I think you knew at that point the Rays weren't coming back. They just were out of gas offensively. 3-1's the final. The starter for the Dodgers yesterday was Tony Gonsolin, an inning and 2/3, 3 hits, an earned run, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Then Dylan Floro recorded an out. Alex Wood went 2, struck out 3. Pedro Baez 2/3, gave up a hit, struck out 1. Vince Gonzalez, the winning pitcher, an inning in the 3rd, 3 strikeouts. Brusdar Graterol, 2/3, gave up a hit. Then Julio Urias finished the game 2 1/3 with 4 strikeouts. Kind of reminded me of Game 7 against Atlanta a little bit, which they just rode with Urias, which was the right move. Dave Roberts really managed a good playoffs with the exception of a couple games. But, hey, he's now a World Series champion. And now I think he's going to get the respect he deserves because he finally has a ring. And he really made some good decision-making. And that's the reason why, or part of the reason why the Dodgers are sitting here as World Series champions. And meanwhile for Tampa, Blake Snell, 5 1/3, 2 hits and a run. No walks, 9 strikeouts. He was tremendous. Nick Anderson recorded 1 out, gave up a hit and an earned run. Aaron Loup went 1/3. Peter Fairbanks went an inning in the 3rd, 2 hits and a run, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. So he gave up the homer to Betts. And then Ryan Yarbrough in 2/3. Dodgers side, well-deserved. This actually felt like a real season because the best team won. The preseason favorite won. Just like with the NBA, the favorite won with the Lakers. So I don't want to hear fake season or nothing of that nature because a team that was preseason favorite wound up winning and a team that everybody expected to win won. So Clayton Kershaw finally has a ring, but he wasn't the World Series MVP. He wound up being Corey Seager, and rightfully so. He was a 400 hitter in the World Series, a couple homers. He was just tremendous, so he deserved the World Series MVP in my mind, although everyone thought it was going to be Kershaw because of the narrative play of, oh, he finally won it. But no, it should have been Corey Seager, and Clayton Kershaw certainly was very good in the series, but he really deserves this ring too. The big story that come out of this game, though, is that Justin Turner was pulled in the top of the 8th inning for Kike Hernandez, and then it turns out in the 9th inning that he had tested positive for COVID-19. Unbelievable. In the 2nd inning, it was notified that Justin Turner's test was back inconclusive, but by the 8th inning, the league called the Dodgers and said that it was a positive test, and they pulled Justin Turner immediately. Many people were speculating an injury, but no, unbelievable. And they even let him on the field to celebrate with his teammates there for a little bit too. Granted, he was wearing a mask and was asymptomatic, it turned out to be. But this could come back to haunt the Dodgers a little bit. But hopefully it doesn't. And the good thing is that Justin Turner was asymptomatic and not actually sick. So thoughts and prayers to Justin Turner, and hopefully he'll be okay. And the Dodgers, the rest of the Dodger team for that matter too. And what a month for Magic Johnson. 2 championships. I know he's not really quote unquote with the Lakers anymore, but he is still friends with Jeannie Buss and the organization. So he's one of the big winners of this month, with the Lakers winning and with the Dodgers winning. Los Angeles fans are big winners because obviously Laker fans are Dodger fans, or for the most part. So the city of Los Angeles is the city of champions right now, and those city fans are big winners. They deserve this because they went through so much with Kobe Bryant passing away, so they deserved the championships. So at least they have something good to be proud of and to look upon, and Kobe's probably looking down smiling right now. Very proud of his Lakers and his Dodgers. So I'm very happy for the city of Los Angeles. And then postmortem for the Rays really quickly. Kevin Cash managed a poor series. He was bad in the playoffs, period. And ultimately came back to bite him in the series. But the other reality of this game was that their offense just stopped hitting. Literally 1 run in an elimination game is unacceptable. So I know Kevin Cash has got all the blame in the world, and rightfully so, for pulling Snell too early. But where was the offense? It was nowhere. Randy Arozarena got their biggest hit of the day, and literally the only hit that mattered for them of last night. But he didn't do anything the rest of the game. Brandon Lau woke up for a couple games. He went back to being quiet. Jai-Man Choi was moved to the leadoff spot. He did nothing. Austin Meadows and Hunter Renfroe, 2 guys they traded for, did not step up in this series. So it's just a disappointing finish to what otherwise was a fantastic season for the Tampa Bay Rays. Maybe tomorrow I'll power rank the teams that had the best seasons. Not necessarily power rankings of right now, but power ranking the teams who had the best season. Obviously, we know who the top 2 are, but 3 through 30, it's debatable. So what's next for the Rays? I think that they'll be back next year. They'll probably be co-division favorites with the Yankees. Vegas will probably favor the Yankees over them because they're the Yankees and they expect them to make a big move. And they're a Vegas money darling. So Tampa probably should be the favorites to win the AL East next year, but it'll probably be the Yankees from a Vegas perspective. And things that the Rays should do to improve themselves, I think they need a bat. Like a major bat. I think they have the assets to go out and pull off a move for a major star. There were rumors that Wander Franco was going to be on the World Series roster and that he could have played in the series. That would have been a fun subplot. Maybe the Rays win the series if he plays. I think that guy really is going to be a superstar for them next year. And they have Arozarena for a full season next year. But then again, you can make a case for regression for Arozarena after a great postseason. Obviously, Franco, that'll be a major addition. I think they could use a first base DH type of bat because to me, Jai-Man Choi is a platoon player. Yandy Diaz, I think, should be playing more. He didn't really step up for them in the series. And then their bullpen, I think, could use an extra arm. Charlie Morton, if I'm not mistaken, is a free agent at the end of the year. But is he? Is he a free agent? I'm going to say I think he has a team option. I think 1 more year. And then obviously you got the studs in Glasnow and Snell. Glasnow obviously was not a stud in the World Series, but he was a stud throughout the rest of the playoffs. He was great against the Yankees. He was good against the Astros, but stunk in this series. That's another reason why the the Rays couldn't get it done. Tyler Glass now not being the same guy, certainly. And Charlie Morton, too. He wasn't very good in game number 3 either. But, yeah, I think the Rays will be back next year. They have guys coming back from injury next year that should help them. I think Brent Honeywell will finally be heard from. Brendan McKay, I think, is going to be a star potentially for them. And obviously Franco, who we mentioned earlier. And then the Dodgers, I think, will be the favorites next year too, obviously. David Price back for them next year, so their rotation gets better. So you got Buehler, Kershaw, Price, Dustin May, and potentially Urias in that rotation. Nobody's beaten that rotation. Oh my goodness. Although the Reds have a say, the Braves have a say with Soroka coming back next year. And then there's a couple other teams you could argue have a say in that too. But, boy, that's a loaded rotation if that's your fivesome. Or put Alex Wood in that 5th spot, and that'd be pretty good as well. So the Dodgers are really in a great spot going in the next year. But they're going to have competition in their own division. Like we talked about how the Yankees will probably be good again next year from a Tampa standpoint. San Diego isn't going anywhere. They're here to stay. They obviously have a great rotation. Mike Clevenger, Dinelson Lamet, Chris Paddock. There could be in play for Trevor Bauer. They have... Maybe they could re-sign Trevor Rosenthal. It stinks about Kirby Yates getting Tommy John surgery, so they need a couple arms in that pen. They have a loaded offense. Manny Machado had a bounce-back year. Fernando Tatis Jr. is one of the best young players in baseball and one of the best players in baseball, period. So the Padres, I think, are there to stay too. And so both the Rays and the Dodgers have challengers in their own division next year. And who knows, maybe Toronto could make a jump in the AL East too. So, and Arizona is a possible bounce-back candidate for 2021 unless they blow it up. So I think each team will have competition within their own division, but they should be division favorites in their respective divisions. Now I'm going to do my first NBA mock draft since the lottery and my second one of 2020. I'm going to go 1 from 30, from 1 to 30 in the first round. First up, number 1, Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, small forward, Georgia. I think that Edwards is going to be a stud. He's a good offensive talent. I think he would be a great fit along with Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell there in Minnesota. The other rumors that they might take LaMelo Ball and then trade Russell or play LaMelo and D'Angelo together and put Russell at the 2 guard and have LaMelo run the point. But I like the fit of Anthony Edwards in Minnesota. They need another scorer on that team in my mind. Number 2, the Golden State Warriors. LaMelo Ball, point guard, USA. I think this is a no-brainer that the Warriors will trade this pick for veteran help to help them get back in the championship contention. But LaMelo Ball, I don't think this will actually be the pick, but I'm going to say that whomever trades up to number 2 will pick LaMelo Ball. LaMelo is somebody that has a lot of star potential, but has a lot of bust potential. He reminds me of his brother, ironically, Lonzo. But I just think he's overhyped, but somebody's going to pick him this high because of the name and the talent. They believe in him. Number 3, the Charlotte Hornets. James Weissman, center, USA, Memphis. This is a perfect fit. Charlotte needs a center. They have Devontae Graham, who's coming off a career year. Miles Bridges, who some may think is a trade asset for them. But yeah, Weissman's a really good player. He only played like 1 game in college. And then he sat out the rest of the season to prepare for the draft. And then was suspended. There's a lot of drama there with Weissman. But I think he's going to be a good player in the league. Number 4, the Chicago Bulls. Denny Avdija, small forward, Israel. Avdija is someone I think has a lot of potential. Could be a poor man's Luka Doncic. He can flat out shoot it from 3. Could be a stretch 4. Number 5, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Obi Toppin, power forward, Dayton. At this point, the Cavaliers should take the best player available. I know people are claiming for them to take a point guard because neither Colin Sexton or Darius Garland is really the answer. And Toppin, I think, is really talented. He's a stretch 5. The player of the year in college football this past year. I think he's going to be a stud in the league. Number 6, the Atlanta Hawks. Onyeka Okongwu, power forward center, USC. The Hawks are interesting. You could argue they should go for a wing, but I think they should go for a big guy. I think there's a chance they trade John Collins to try to get that second star to go with Trae Young. I think Okongwu is a really talented and tantalizing player. He can shoot. He can protect the rim. And him and John Collins or him and Clint Capella would be a really good tandem. Number 7, the Detroit Pistons. Killian Hayes, point guard, France. The Pistons are a team that needs new blood and new life. Hayes has some star potential. Granted, he's an international guy, but I do think that he has some star potential. Maybe they move on from Derrick Rose and ship him off to a contender. And Hayes can come in and get the keys from the car and help lead their franchise going forward. Number 8, the New York Knicks. Tyrese Halliburton, point guard, Iowa State. The Knicks, I think, have a strong need at point guard. Frank Ntilikina ain't it. Dennis Smith Jr. ain't it. And Elfrid Payton, to me, is just a role player. So Tyrese Halliburton, I think, has a chance to be the best point guard in this draft. But I would rank him second behind LaMelo Ball. And Hayes third, quite frankly. But I think Detroit just likes the upside with Hayes more than taking this chance at somebody that's coming off an injury. But I think Halliburton could be a star. I really do. He showed so much potential with Iowa State, and then he got injured. It was just unfortunate. And then Halliburton, R.J. Barrett, and Mitchell Robinson, to me, is a nice little core if you're the Knicks. Number 9, the Washington Wizards. Isaac Okoro, small forward, Auburn. The Wizards, to me, have a ton of needs. Bradley Beal, I think, could be out the door in a trade. So you could argue they could use a shooting guard, but let's go with Okoro for them. He's somebody that really showed some potential in college. He can shoot. So it'd be him, and if they keep the 2 guards, Wall and Beal, and then Thomas Bryant, and the kid from Gonzaga that they picked last year too that I like. So I think this would be a solid pick for Washington. Fills a need. Number 10, the Phoenix Suns. Patrick Williams, small forward, Florida State. Patrick Williams could be a lottery picker go in the 20s. I think that's the range for him. He's a very talented player. The Suns, I think, are a wild card in this draft. I think they can trade the pick for a star to go with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. And I think that Kelly Oubre is a trade bait guy. So I think they could use a small forward. Number 11, San Antonio Spurs. Devin Vassell, shooting guard, small forward, Florida State. This would be the better fit for the Phoenix Suns in my mind because he's versatile. And I mentioned it, Oubre's trade bait. And I can't dismiss Mikal Bridges from the Suns' plans. They really, I think, like him a lot. Vassell, I think, would be the perfect type of player for San Antonio, too. Maybe they trade away DeMar DeRozan or play the 2 guys together. But yeah, Vassell, I think, would be an excellent fit on the Spurs. Very versatile, can shoot the 3 as well. Number 12, the Sacramento Kings. Precious Achiuwa, power forward center, Memphis. Everybody is saying pick a point guard. I think they have a bigger need at the big position. They just need somebody to go with Marvin Bagley. To me, Marvin Bagley is a power forward, and I think Achiuwa could play the 5 and play with Bagley. And then re-sign Bogdan Bogdanovic, and then you obviously have De'Aaron Fox there and Harrison Barnes. But I think they want to trade Harrison Barnes to clear up cap space to re-sign Bogdan Bogdanovic, or they keep Buddy Hield and Bogdan and trade Barnes. But yeah, I think Achua would be a great fit with Sacramento, and I think that'd be a better play than a point guard. Number 3, the New Orleans Pelicans. Aaron Naismith, small forward, Vanderbilt. I like Naismith. I think he has a lot of talent. The Pelicans, to me, are a team that really doesn't have any needs either. They should go with best player available. I think R.J. Hampton would have been a great fit for New Orleans as well. Naismith really did show a lot of potential in college. I think that this is his ceiling in the draft, quite frankly. Number 14, the Boston Celtics from the Memphis Grizzlies. R.J. Hampton, shooting guard, USA. At this point, the Celtics should be taking chances on guys. They pretty much have a team for themselves. Although I think they are going to make some changes. I think Gordon Hayward could be traded. And I think this pick could, quite frankly, be dealt as well. But I think R.J. Hampton on Boston would be interesting, and he'd be a nice emergence as a bench piece. Or he could start for them, and you can go Kemba Walker, R.J. Hampton, Jaylen Brown at small forward, Jason Tatum at the 4, and then acquire a center somehow. Number 15, the Orlando Magic. Kira Lewis Jr., point guard, Alabama. I think the biggest need on Orlando's roster is a point guard. To me, Markelle Fultz is more of a shooting guard. Or he could be a point guard. They really don't know what position he is. So to me, Orlando should go with the point guard with Kira Lewis Jr. I think this would be a good selection for them. And he'd be a good fit with their roster. Number 16, the Portland Trailblazers. Sadiq Bey, small forward, Villanova. I think forward is the biggest weakness on Portland unless they bring back Carmelo Anthony. Sadiq Bey, I think, would be a good fit with them. They need a 3-and-D type of player, and I think Bey can succeed in the NBA. Number 17, the Minnesota Timberwolves from the Brooklyn Nets. Cole Anthony, point guard, North Carolina. It's amazing, Cole Anthony. After the first game of his season last year, everyone was saying, oh, this guy's special. He's going to be the number 1 overall pick. And then he gets injured, and now he's not even projected to be a lottery pick. I think Cole Anthony's going to be a star, and I think he's going to be a steal for somebody. And had not been for the injuries, I'd have him higher rated on my board. To me, I would put him as my number 5 point guard behind LaMelo, Halliburton, Hayes, Lewis, and then I'd have Anthony at number 5. Minnesota, I think, could use another guard to go with Russell in the backcourt. And I think Anthony would be a good flyer pick for them. Number 18, the Dallas Mavericks. Jaden McDaniels, small forward, Washington. Jaden McDaniels was somebody that underachieved in college and is a big reason why the Washington Huskies underachieved a year ago in college basketball. Dallas, to me, needs some upside guys to go with Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. And I think that Jaden McDaniels would be a good pick for them. 19, the Brooklyn Nets from the Philadelphia 76ers. Isaiah Stewart, power forward, Washington. The Brooklyn Nets, to me, are a team that needs some young blood off the bench, because I think we know that their starting 5 is going to feature Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Jordan, and 2 other players. And those 2 other players, I think there's a chance are not even on the roster right now. I think Jared Allen's going to be traded. I think there's a chance Karis LeVert's traded. But right now, I think he will stay with the Nets, and they like him a lot. And I think that the third star could be the other starter, and Kevin Durant could very well be a power forward if that star is a 2 guard, and then you move Karis LeVert, the small forward, or you acquire a small forward, and then you put Kevin Durant at the 4. But, yeah, Stewart is somebody that I think has some potential. He had a better year than McDaniels in my mind, and I think that he could help a team in 2020-21. Number 20, the Miami Heat, Tyrese Maxey, point guard, shooting guard, Kentucky. Yes, I have the Heat taking another Kentucky player to go with Tyler Herro and Bam Adebayo. Goran Dragic could be out the door. They need some depth as well. I think Maxey would really be a good fit for them. He does have some potential in my mind. This could be a steal. Number 21, the Philadelphia 76ers from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Jalen Smith, power forward center, Maryland. The 76ers are a team that needs some depth off the bench, and I think Jalen Smith could provide that. He's a shooting big and could protect the rim as well. Number 22, the Denver Nuggets from the Houston Rockets. Josh Green, shooting guard, Arizona. I think Denver's a team that could use depth as well, especially from the wing position. I think there's a chance that they package some assets to trade for that star to go with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. I think Josh Green really could help the Nuggets. Number 23, the Utah Jazz, Theo Maledon, point guard, France. Jazz was picking depth pieces at this point, and I think Maledon could be a good guard to come off the bench for right now in a stash and draft and stash prospect. Number 24, Milwaukee Bucks from the Indiana Pacers. Aleksej Pokusevski, center, Serbia. I think that Pokusevski could be a draft and stash as well. Milwaukee, I think, preferably wants to pick somebody that can help them win next year, but Pokusevski, I think, is a good draft and stash prospect for them for the future. Number 25, the Oklahoma City Thunder from the Denver Nuggets. Xavier Tillman, power forward, Michigan State. Oklahoma City, I think, has a ton of needs in the offseason, especially if they decide to trade away some pieces. I think Tillman is somebody that can help them, and I think he could start. 26, the Boston Celtics. Leonardo Bolmaro, small forward, Argentina. Another draft and stash prospect for Boston. They're normally good at collecting these types of players. Number 27, the New York Knicks from the Clippers. Killian Tilly, power forward, Gonzaga. I think Tilly falling this far is a steal for New York. I know every mock draft has a point guard here, but 2 point guards would be fun, but I think they have other needs elsewhere, and I think Tilly is a good upside play for them as well. Number 28, the Los Angeles Lakers. Nico Mannion, point guard, Arizona. I think the Lakers can use some point guard depth. Rajon Rondo is a free agent potentially. Alex Caruso is still there, but he's more of a shooting guard. Avery Bradley's more of a 2 guard as well. So the Lakers can use some point guard depth. I think Mannion could be a steal here for LA. 29, the Toronto Raptors. Zeke Naji, power forward, Arizona. Naji's a really good player. He's somebody that can shoot the lights out. He's reminded people of Serge Ibaka. And number 30, the Boston Celtics from the Milwaukee Bucks. Reggie Perry, power forward, Mississippi State. Reggie Perry, somebody that's flying up draft boards. I think Boston can use a player that could help them. He's a good power forward that can come off the bench and do some stuff and do the little things, and I think he'd help Boston next season. So there you have it, my second mock draft of 2020 for the NBA. Now I want to get into some NFL news that has happened over the last 24 hours. First, the Baltimore Ravens side. Dez Bryant to their practice squad. I think it's a good risk for them to take. I don't love their receiver depth. And he's a veteran that's played in big games before with the Cowboys. He's a little bit of a diva, but I do think that he'll help Lamar Jackson a lot in the passing game. And that's something that I think he needs to work on. And to get back to that MVP for him from last year, like, Hollywood Brown hasn't been that great, and neither has the rest of their receivers. Mark Andrews has been good, but that's it. And I think Sunday is a big test for them. I'm not saying Dez will play on Sunday against Pittsburgh, but the Ravens are under a ton of pressure to win that game against the Steelers on Sunday to prove themselves that they are a real Super Bowl contender, and that last year is no aberration. Because there's still the naysayers out there because they lost that Chiefs game. If they lose this game too, forget it. They're going to be labeled as a fraud in terms of whether they're a contender or not. But I think Dez is a good signing for them, and I think that he'll help the Ravens in some capacity. He's on the practice squad right now, but I think they'll promote him at some point to help him. And like I said, he's a veteran that's been there. He hasn't been in the league in a while, but I think he can help somebody. I really, really do, and I'm interested to see how this plays out. And the other NFL news I want to talk about, Everson Griffin was traded from the Dallas Cowboys to the Detroit Lions for a 6th-round pick. I think that's a great trade for Detroit. They didn't have to give up much to get somebody. Yeah, he's going to be a free agent in a year, but he's somebody that's going to help them. Like, he will really help them do pass rushing and on the defensive side of the ball. That's one of their biggest needs. And I think that he'll certainly help the Lions. And meanwhile, for Dallas, is this a sign of a sell-off? But I think that they didn't get enough. I think that Griffin should have netted them a 4th, to be quite frank, or a 3rd. They could have done better there. Granted, he's been a free agent at the year, and he hasn't been that great. But Everson Griffin was a tremendous player on the Minnesota Vikings. And I think he'll really help Detroit. And I think that Detroit has a shot in the NFC North now with this trade. And I think that they can make another move, maybe to help their offensive line. So I'm interested to see what other moves this team can make in terms of that make themselves better. And now for Dallas, what's next? Are there other guys that they could potentially move? I know the Everson Griffin rumor was floated out there yesterday morning, and then they wound up pulling the trigger yesterday as well. Or maybe it was Monday morning that was thrown out there. Amari Cooper has that big deal, but I think that they are going to wait to the offseason to trade him. I would trade him for a corner. I think him for Patrick Peterson would be a tremendous deal on both sides. Obviously, Peterson would help Dallas because they lack the CB1 right now with Byron Jones no longer there. And in Arizona, Christian Kirk really hasn't made that jump. And the reason why I suggest this trade for next year, not this year, is because Larry Fitzgerald's still on the Cardinals roster. And then they'd be loaded at that position. Cooper and Hopkins and Kirk and Fitzgerald. That would be an unreal 4. But I think the Cardinals would wait and do that trade until the offseason. Let's say Larry Fitzgerald retires, and then you do that trade. And Christian Kirk really hasn't made the huge jump that the Cardinals were hoping for to be their WR1, and that's why they traded for Hopkins. And who the heck knows? Maybe Kirk's a WR3. And if that's the case, then you should pull off that Amari Cooper trade from Dallas that I suggested once Larry Fitzgerald retires. But yeah, that's an interesting Cowboys move that they should explore for the future, but not necessarily this season. And for this season, I think Griffin was the only logical one. Maybe Aldon Smith can get them back something. He's been very good this season. They're not going to trade anybody from their offensive line. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Cowboys do at the trade deadline. And, for Detroit, like I said, great trade for them. They only had to give up a 6th. And then another trade that happened that I wanted to talk about is, speaking of the Cardinals, they acquired Marcus Golden from the New York Giants for, I want to say, they got a 6th as well, sent off to New York. Let me check if that was a 6th or a 5th that the Cardinals got for Marcus Golden. The Cardinals got a 6th, or the Giants got a 6th. So I think that the Giants and Dallas each could have done better in their trades. I think Golden could have gotten a 5th, and Everson Griffin, to me, could have gotten a day 2 pick if some team was greedy, or even a 4th. So prices aren't really high right now, so some of these contenders should be calling some of these sellers for some of these pieces. So I think that's a good trade for Arizona. Golden was playing well for the Giants this season, and a big reason why the Giants' defense has been better than expected thus far this season. But now with that trade, the Giants' defense to me, is only going to get worse. And Arizona's defense will get better. Isaiah Simmons finally started to look better against Seattle. So I think Arizona trading for Marcus Golden was a good move to help their linebacker situation. And Chandler Jones is out. Maybe they should have been in on Everson Griffin because of the injury to Chandler Jones. I think that they have to replace Chandler Jones somehow still. Maybe they can get a rental. Maybe they can grab a pass rusher that's available. They should have been in on Yannick Ngakoue, to be quite frank. But yeah, to me, Arizona needs to make another move. We'll talk more NFL trade deadline on the podcast tomorrow. But yeah, 2 trades that happened recently. Marcus Golden to Arizona and Everson Griffin to Detroit. Each seller in Giants and Cowboys getting a 6th-round pick in return. I think both the Cardinals and Lions made excellent pickups. Now to the TV side of things, we're going to do Dancing with the Stars. We didn't get to it yesterday, but we're getting to it right now. Yet again, somebody was voted off. The theme of the week was Villains Night, which the couples performed one unlearned dance dressed as villains from a movie or television show. Jenny and Brandon did a paso double to Maneater by Nelly Furtado and got a 25. Johnny and Britt did a Vanessa waltz to Creep by Vincent. Chriselle and Gleb did a paso double to In the Air Tonight and got a 26. Oh, Johnny and Britt got a 27 if I didn't mention it. Monica and Val did a jazz dance to Fever by Beyonce and got a 22. AJ and Cheryl did a tango to Psycho by the Intermezzo Orchestra and got a 26. Nelly and Daniela did an Argentine tango to Can't Feel My Face by The Weeknd and got a 27. Justina and Sasha did a tango dance to Take Me to Church by Milk, Milk, and got a 26. And how about this? Nev and Jenna did a paso doble to Black Swan with Swan Lake Remix by District 78 and got a perfect score. The first perfect score of the season, which was incredible. Sky and Alan did an Argentine tango to Everything I Wanted by Billie Eilish and got a 27. And Caitlin and Artem did a Paso Devil to Disturbia by Rihanna and got a 24. The couple that unfortunately had to get the boot this week was Monica and Val. And that's unfortunate for them. Monica Aldama and Valentin Chermavsky. They were the 6th pairing eliminated from the show. They had a good run, and then the votes to for the judges to save. Tanioli tried to save Jenny and Brandon. Ho tried to save Monica and Val, or How. And Inaba tried to save Jenny and Brandon. And Monica and Val should have gotten voted off because they got the lowest score. And a couple weeks ago, Sky and Alan, I thought, should have gotten the boot. But they bounced back in a big way with the Everything I Wanted dance from this week. So rightfully, the team with the lowest, or the pairing with the lowest score, gotten voted off. Now with the World Series over, The Masked Singer will be on tonight, 8 o'clock on Fox after a 1-week hiatus due to the World Series. We're finally going to get to meet Group C. This is going to be a fun group of contestants, in my opinion. You got Broccoli, the Squiggly Monster, Mushroom, Jellyfish, and Lips. Just basing on the super sneak peek episode, I'm going to go through things that they kind of gave us clues about somewhat. Broccoli, there's a 6-pack and trees in the clue package. Maybe this is an athlete. I think this is a male, but I could be wrong. Because there's people that you would think are men that turn out to be women and vice versa. And then there's the Squiggly Monster. Their hint was a lot of hands to hold on to. So maybe this is somebody that's a doctor or somebody that is like big in like the helping others genre, or maybe they're a talk show host. Mushroom. Mushroom hints were pictures and under his hat. So maybe this is a magician. Maybe it's Chris Angel. Who knows? Maybe it's a female magician or something. Or maybe that clue relates to something else. Jellyfish. I'm interested to see who Jellyfish is. They hinted at a flow of water. So maybe this is an actor and actress that was in a movie involving swimming, or maybe this is an Olympic swimmer. And last but not least, Lips. With the previews of the episode coming up tonight, it looked like Lips was a female. The hints were dishes go high, and then there is a periodic table. Is that science related? Is one of the elements of the periodic table a hint to something, to what you do? I was like platinum, like a platinum artist or something like that. And that was obviously Lil Wayne's hint in terms of the periodic table back last season. So you never know. It's going to be a fun show. And obviously we'll recap it on tomorrow's podcast. And I'll give out my guesses. And I'll talk about who the judges thought the characters were. And all that fun stuff. And there's no best bet today because there's no sports games. Very unfortunate about that. If there was a Game 7 tonight, my best bet would have been the Rays. And I would have continued the ride my wagon that was. And ultimately it didn't work out. But oh well. We'll have best bet tomorrow because there's Thursday football. And there's college football as well. So we'll have a best bet tomorrow. That's it for the show today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping the latest in the world of sports and whatnot. I'm going to do my baseball rankings based on what teams had the best season. So that's going to be interesting. Not necessarily my power rankings as the way too early 2021 power rankings. Maybe we'll do that next week, but tomorrow I'll probably do an off-season preview for every team and talk about how I feel each team did this season in terms of expectations and whatnot. So the rankings that I'm releasing are going to be based on how teams did this year, based on what I expected and whatnot. And we know who 1 and 2 are going to be in the rankings. But like I said, 3 through 30 is going to be a mystery. We'll obviously get into more about Justin Turner's COVID positive and if anybody else gets it, any other injury or trade in the NFL we'll talk NFL trade deadline tomorrow, Mass Singer obviously, and college football in the NFL for tomorrow and my best bet as well. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.